Perfect. I'll just keep admitting people as I'm talking, but thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Malika from Success at School, and we are delighted to kick off National Apprenticeship Week this year with the National Audit Office, who are here to talk about their Chartered Accountancy Training Scheme, which is now open for applications. Just a couple of admin bits from me. This webinar will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel, where you will get the link tomorrow morning. If you attend the whole session as well, you will also get a certificate with your name that you can post on LinkedIn, and don't forget to tag us and the speakers and the National Audit Office. If you do have any questions, please make sure to pop them in the Q&A section, and we will get down to them at the end of the meeting. But for all questions that we don't get an answer to, I will pass this on to the team at the National Audit Office, and they will get back to you with an answer. But that is enough from me. I'm going to pass it straight over to the wonderful team at the National Audit Office, and I'll be back for the Q&A later.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Malika. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. So just by way of introduction, we are the National Audit Office, and we're here today to talk to you about our opportunities that we have here. But just to let you know who is going to be speaking with you today. So my name's Zoe. I'm the resourcing specialist at the NAO based in London, and I actually oversee recruitment for our graduate and apprentice schemes here. I'm also joined by my colleague Vicky, who's our head of professional training and qualifications, and you'll hear from her a little bit later on. And we're also joined by two of our audit apprentices, Samaya and Freddie, and they'll be able to give you a little bit of insight into their journey into joining the apprenticeship and what they've been doing since they joined us. So without further ado, I'm going to kick off. So for those of you that are thinking, who are you? So we are the National Audit Office, or the NAO, or the UK's independent public spending watchdog. Just some of the different names that you might hear, how we are referenced in the news or in the press, but essentially that is who we are. So we are an organisation funded by Parliament, and our remit is to scrutinise the public spending for Parliament and support Parliament in holding government to account on how they are spending taxpayers' money. So we perform audits of public sector organisations for Parliament. So we will audit financial accounts of those departments, but also other public bodies. And we also examine and report on the value for money of how public money has been spent. So that's kind of the two main areas in which our organisation is divided. So we are about supporting and enabling improvements in financial management, and it's about us helping Parliament drive lasting improvement in those public services. So for trainees that join us, this means they get to do work that has real purpose, real impact. They get challenged and they get variety. So our trainees will contribute to audits, and they will get to contribute to projects as well. And again, it is all about scrutinising government and their use of resources. So they have a real opportunity to really develop, make a real difference to a very diverse range of clients, but also to the nation. So as I mentioned with our name, we are often in the headlines. Our work is very big hitting. And in the current climate, there is a lot of attention being paid to achieving better value for money for the taxpayer. So, I'm going to give you a very high level overview of who we are and what we do, because I really want you to have an opportunity to hear from the rest of our colleagues today. But this just gives you a very quick overview of the kind of work we do. So as I said, audit, that's kind of our main sort of bread and butter. This is about us looking at that public spending for Parliament. The value for money side is about ensuring that every single pound will deliver results, and it is about enabling those MPs to hold government to account. This is just a couple of snapshots of a couple of value for money reports. Can't really show you a screenshot of financial accounts because it's not really going to look very exciting. But these are value for money reports that we have done. So some that may possibly ring quite true to you. As we know, during the pandemic, driving tests were severely disrupted. A lot of them obviously were suspended because of the lockdown restrictions. There have been a number of measures that the DVSA have taken to try and address this backlog and reduce some of those waiting times for a test, but we know that waiting times have remained very, very long. And as you can see from the report that was published quite recently, that there is still pretty much a 6-month wait that is set to last through till at least 2027. And one of the other reports there, this was probably, I think, from last year. It was a report we did into instances of fraud being detected by the student loans company. So again, something that we thought a lot of our graduates that were joining us were very interested to hear a little bit more about. But sort of moving on a little bit and thinking about accountancy, audit, what is it? There's a lot of myths that go around this, and I will be the first to admit that I think I was probably the same when I first thought about this. So people think accounting is just sitting there, it's just looking at numbers, it's going through spreadsheets, and that's really not the case at all. The work that we do is actually really diverse, and this is just a bit of a snapshot of the type of work that we can get involved in. So yes, we do audits, internal and external, but there's a lot of that other elements that come into this, such as looking at budgets. It's about making sure those financial records are really being maintained. It is also looking at things such as criminal financial activity. So there's quite a lot that our trainees do get involved in. Now, one of the other myths that comes up quite a lot as well, and I hear this a lot when I'm at schools doing career fairs, when I'm on campus doing career fairs. I didn't study maths at school. I'm not doing maths as part of my degree. Does this mean that I can't be considered? Again, that is not the case at all. We actually look for a wide range of skills, and we recruit trainees from all backgrounds. So you don't have to have studied economics, maths, finance. You don't need to have done anything like that. This is a snapshot of what we call competencies. So these are competencies that we look for from individuals that join the NAO. So we look for people that can analyse information, and it's not about being a maths genius. It's can you make sense of information and can you spot things that are important? When we look at people that demonstrate sound judgment, it's about thinking before you act, weighing up those options and choosing what makes the most sense to you. How you communicate, how can you explain things to others, adapt to how you're speaking to different audiences. We look at our demonstrating enthusiasm and drive. It's about being curious. We look for a lot of curiosity at the NAO. Can you take the initiative? Can you follow through on what you start? Teamwork is a really core competency at the NAO as well. Everybody works within groups and teams, so it's how we work with others, how we're supportive to each other, and how we help our groups and our teams get things done. And also linked into that is how we build those positive relationships. So not just internally, but externally as well with our clients. So being friendly, but being professional and being reliable. Being an auditor, you've got to be able to plan and organise, stay organised, manage your time, complete work to a good standard. And then finally, understanding the bigger picture. Do you understand how the work that you do and how that connects to real world impact, and how and why it also matters? So yeah, this is just giving you a bit of an idea that it is not just about someone that is very good at maths. We look for a very broad range of skills, very well-rounded individuals, and a lot of this are things that you will learn and you will be taught when you join us. So in terms of who we are as well, where are we based? So we have our main office in London, Victoria, so we're very close to Victoria Station. There's roughly around 1,000 people that work at that particular office, and we also have a regional office up in Newcastle, a beautiful office we moved into about 2.5 years ago, and we have roughly about 160 colleagues currently working up there at the moment, and you'll hear from Freddie and Samaya, who are both based up there. So I know a lot of you are probably at school, so you're thinking, what next? Do I want to do an apprenticeship when I finish my A-levels or my equivalent? Do I want to go to university? This is just to give you a bit of an idea on both routes. A professional apprenticeship and attending university each have their own advantages. An apprenticeship might be a better choice depending on what your career aspirations are. Uni might not be the right fit for everyone. Apprenticeships do offer an incredible opportunity to get practical skills, get a professional qualification and gain some very real work experience quite early on. And you get to do all of that while earning a very competitive salary and avoiding student debt as well. But on the flip side, university might be the better option for you. You might decide that you want to go off and have that experience of living away from home, being independent, or even differently, you might be wanting a very specific career in which you need a degree, such as medicine. Both routes work. You just need to choose the fit that is right for you. So on that note, this is just an overview of the different opportunities that we offer at the NAO. So we're here today to talk to you about the apprenticeship or the school leaver scheme, depending on how you want to view it. So this is for people just coming out of coming out of their A levels, or even maybe a few years after they finish their A levels. But it's ultimately aimed at people that do not have a degree, and it's a level 7 that we offer. And we currently look at about 4.5 years through to qualification from when you start. Once you are qualified, this is comparable to a UK master's degree. Now, we are currently open for applications, and we are open until the end of March. If this does sound like something you're interested in, then this QR code will take you through to our trainee website, where you'll find out a load more information, lots of FAQs, and you can also reach out to us if you have questions as well. For any of you that are approaching year 13, you may be interested in work experience program that we run. So we offer a 1-week paid work experience opportunity every October during half term, and it gives you a chance to come into our office, either Newcastle or London, and learn a lot more about us over that week. And the aim is by the end of that week, you might be inspired to apply for our apprenticeship, or if you're deciding university, in a few years' time, apply for the university route. So the other opportunity we have is our graduate scheme. So this is for students that are about to finish university. It's the same scheme, ACA qualification, and this is 3 years through to qualification once they graduate and join us. And for that, we open every September, October, and usually graduates will apply in their final year so that when they finish university, they'll go straight into their job in the September. And likewise, we also have a summer internship. This is also open to university students in their second year of uni. So once they finish their second year, they can spend 6 weeks with us over the summer, getting some real work experience in financial audit and value for money. And again, it's an opportunity for them to see if they've enjoyed the work they've done and if they'd consider coming back to us as a graduate once they finish university. And for that, we open applications roughly around every January. But we will share a copy of this presentation with all of you afterwards. So that QR code will be there if you do want to check out our website and read a lot more about our opportunities and what we offer. But thinking about the opportunities that we do offer, what are the benefits of our trainee scheme? So we have a really competitive salary. We're very open and transparent about the salaries we offer. So this shows you the current salary for a graduate or an apprentice, whether they're based in London or Newcastle. These are based on 2025, and we'll be getting an update on what the salaries will be from April onwards. But if someone was to start with us right now, this is what they would be starting off on. Alongside that, you get your qualification and your subscriptions to the ICAEW fully funded by the NAO. And we also offer 25 weeks of study leave. So really, really great opportunity to earn while you learn. And alongside that, you'll get annual pay increases on the anniversary of you starting, as well as special increases when you pass key stages of your qualification. And alongside all of that, you also get the excellent civil service pension as well. So some really great benefits there in terms of joining our trainee scheme. But the other side of the coin as well is you get an amazing support network of colleagues, a lot of whom have gone through this same scheme. So they were in your shoes, so they can absolutely support you. And we also have a brilliant work-life balance, and we hear that quite a lot from people that join the NAO, maybe leave to go and get experience elsewhere, but do come back to us a couple of years later. So for anyone that is interested in joining us, we do have some entry requirements. So we do require people to have 5 GCSEs, including maths and English. And from an A-level or equivalent perspective, we do look for 120 UCAS points. This doesn't include general studies. If you do have between 104 and 119, you might still be eligible to apply, as we work with a company called Rare Recruitment, and your application is reviewed in line with your socioeconomic background. But again, any questions that you have on that, you can always reach out to our team, and we're more than happy to answer any questions. If you are deciding to go down the university route, then you would need to have a 2-1 at an undergraduate degree level as well. If you're going for the apprentice route, then you shouldn't have a degree. It's just GCSEs and A-levels. We do have to abide by civil service nationality rules. So anyone that does join us does need to have the right to live and work in the UK. Again, any questions around that, we're more than happy to answer that, as everyone's case is obviously different. A key point we do have is that we don't bring on anyone that has already been on a training contract with other firms or they are part qualified. We have a very specific pathway, which I think Vicky will probably touch upon a bit later. But again, if you are unsure about what that means, please reach out to us and we are very happy to help. We are a disability confident leader employer. So anyone that needs reasonable adjustments throughout our recruitment process, we are very happy to discuss how we can support you. So always do reach out to us and we're more than happy to discuss with you what adjustments you would need. But on that note, this gives you a very high level overview of what our recruitment process is. So you would need to register on our website, create a profile. And if you meet the minimum requirements, you would complete an online numerical test. The test is done online. It is time recorded, not time limited. So it does mean you can take as long as you like to answer the questions, but the time taken does kind of count against your score as well. So it's one of these sort of work quickly but accurately typed tests. CBQ stands for competency-based questions. These are open-ended questions where we're just looking for examples of situations that you have been in, whether it's at school, extracurricular activities. A lot of guidance we have on our website as well on how you should approach these questions. If you pass through that stage, we'll ask you to do a telephone interview. So this is where you speak to one of our lovely team and they'll take you through what we call a competency-based interview. So again, it's examples of situations you've been in, again, at school, extracurricular activities, maybe any part-time work that you've been in. But it's a way for us to understand a little bit more about you and your background and how you've approached particular situations. And at that point, if you're shortlisted, we'll invite you to an assessment centre. And these are held in person at our offices in London and Newcastle. So we'll invite you to the location that is best for you. And we'll take you through sort of a one-day assessment of various different exercises. But again, we'll talk you through that in advance of attending so you know what to expect. But that's it. That's literally the process. We have way more information on our website with a lot of guidance, a lot of hints and tips about how you should approach specific stages, how best to prepare. But again, we're also there to help support you. And again, that comes to any kind of reasonable adjustments or workplace adjustments. So always reach out to us with any questions that you do have. And we'll make sure that our email address is shared with you all afterwards. So if you do have anything to ask, you know where to come. But that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, very high level about the NAO, who we are, what we do and what we offer. And we're really happy to take questions at the end. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass over to my colleague, Vicky, who's our Head of Professional Training and Qualifications. And she will talk you through our ACA pathway. So Vicky, over to you.
Thank you, Zoe, and evening, everybody. As Zoe mentioned, I am Head of Professional Training and Qualifications at the NAO, and I'll provide you with a high-level overview of the ACA programme, and then if there's any questions at the end, hopefully I'll be able to address them and give you some guidance. So, completed an ACA qualification is a great way to broaden your knowledge and skills, and it really does provide you with opportunities to a fantastic career and long-term opportunities as well. The ACA, so if you don't know, it's the Associated Chartered Accountants qualification, and it's awarded by the Institute of Chartered Accountants England and Wales, so the ICAEW. If you have a Google, there's a plethora of information on the website. By completing the qualification, you'll become a chartered accountant. And it is hard work, I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of hard work and dedication and sacrifice, but it's worth it in the end. Your hard work is recognised, obviously, by gaining that Chartered Accountant's badge title. And pretty much all organisations and businesses across the country, across the world, need accountants or in fact need auditors. So it's definitely a great career choice if you're looking to go down that pathway. As I mentioned, whilst it's challenging, the qualification has recently been updated, and I'll show you shortly kind of the rough pathway, but it's recently been updated and is following a scaffolding approach, so really helping students who decide to follow the qualification a clear structure and pathway, so you build your foundations and then work your way up the scaffolding to completion. So it really has a good support mechanism around the qualification, a real structured pathway. And we work closely with our training providers to ensure that you receive excellent college tuition, and there's dedicated time in which you would go to college. And for those that follow the apprenticeship route, you would have a dedicated talent coach to support you as you work through your qualification, to discuss your practical work experience and really be that ear and guidance counsellor, if you like, as you work through your apprenticeship qualification. There is plenty of support at the NAO. So as Zoe mentioned, many people who work at the NAO have been in your position deciding which career pathway is for them. So there is plenty of support from what we call performance coaches, but line managers and those around the organisation who have been in your position, embarked upon the qualification and qualified at the end of it and be really successful in their careers. And as Zoe touched upon, there are various routes to complete the qualification. There is the apprentice route, which is a level 7 apprenticeship, and there is also doing the ACA after university. So there are plenty of routes into a chartered accountant's career. So you're not alone in terms of deciding which route you wish to take. And as it says there on the slide, the qualification is truly globally recognised, and it really is seen as a prestigious qualification recognised by a number of organisations and industries across the globe. Next slide, please. Sorry. Thank you. So what we've got here is just a high-level overview of the ACA programme, and again, this information and details on the specific subjects can be found on the ICAEW website. And as I just touched upon, the qualification can be done as ACA, so standalone qualification working through each of the subjects, or as a level 7 apprenticeship, which is, I guess, surrounded by coaching from a talent coach at college. So typically for somebody who is joining us from A-level school college, the pathway takes about 4.5 years. So you would be on a 4.5-year training agreement and work through the qualification. And if you did decide to go to university and then join on a graduate route, it would be a 3-year programme. So just starting from left to right, I guess, on my screen, you would join us and start at the certificate level. So this is the foundation of the qualification, and we typically run the certificate level for our school leavers or apprentices over a 12-month period to allow you to kind of embed in the work environment as you work through your studies. So you would start with, for example, accounting fundamentals, and as it says on the tin, it is the fundamentals of accounting. So bookkeeping, credit and debits, it really is the baseline of the qualification. And we, as I said, work closely with our tuition providers who will provide you with guidance and tuition on the subjects and then prepare you for your examinations. So you would work through that certificate level either over 12 months or a slightly shorter period if you were joining us from university. And then once you've completed that certificate level, you would progress onto the professional level. And typically as an apprentice, you would sit 2 papers at a time once you get to the professional level. And we work with our college providers to pair those papers up. And then as you head towards the final part of your qualification, you progress onto the advanced level, and under the new syllabus, there are 2 case studies. So you are looking back on the technical academic knowledge that you've gained over the years prior, and working on a case study where typically you've had pre-seen information, and you're also by then able to apply some of your real life, real world experience to those case study papers. So it's a gradual pathway, allowing you to embed in the world of work and gain that practical work experience as you work through your qualification and receive coaching if you're on the apprenticeship scheme. So that's 14 exams in total. And as you're working through your qualification, you are making a record of the work experience that you are obtaining, and there's plenty of work experience that you will obtain as you work at the NAO. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I just pulled out some points just to highlight some of the great support that's available at the NAO. So alongside your study pathway, we have a dedicated induction and learning and development team. And so you will have a comprehensive induction planned out for you, and introduce you to the world of audit or corporate finance if you happen to work in that department, or value for money. And your induction pathway sits alongside your ACA qualification. As well as talent coaches at the colleges that we work with, you can also access our learning and development coaching faculty. So we have a dedicated team who are available to support you at any time. So whether you have questions about preparing for exams or studies, or whether you've had an exam and you want to debrief with somebody, our L&D coaches are, again, individuals who've been through the qualification and can provide you with guidance and a space in which you can just download and debrief and kind of share your thoughts and ideas. We have a dedicated audit pathway. So this is our specialist learning pathway that prepares you for the world of work. And as you, again, go through the 4.5-year apprenticeship programme, you'll be completing modules and learning and development under our audit pathways route. We also have recently introduced a new module before you even start at college, which is known as Intro to Accounting and Bookkeeping. So we want to make sure that you have the best start into your qualification journey. And so we have a dedicated programme that really does start with the basics. So as Zoe mentioned before, you don't have to come from a mathematics specialism. We really do encourage a broad range of individuals and those with different subject backgrounds to join us, but we provide you with guidance and an intro to accounting course to really help build those foundations. So touched upon it in terms of the study leave we give you. So you'll have study leave for college, study leave for exams, so that time is protected so that you can really get your heads into your books, form study networks with your peers, so you really do have a good amount of study leave that's allocated for you. And as it says there, your courses and exams are all funded, so you do not have to worry about any costs there. So when Zoe was showing the slides with regards to different routes, so university or an apprenticeship first, you can bear that in mind in terms of the cost. The courses and exams are funded, and that's funded whether you decide to go down the apprenticeship route or join us after graduation. So I really do think it's a fantastic opportunity, either completing the Chartered Accountant's qualification as an apprentice, or after graduation. They are really fantastic opportunities as careers. And as mentioned, we provide you with some great support. So there's a dedicated training team to support you as you work through. So any queries that you have throughout your studies, we're able to support you, and we've got a number of networks within the organisation that can support you as well. And I'll just leave you on kind of our pass rates. So our students, both graduates and apprentices, do really, really well as they work through the qualification, and typically our pass rates are higher than the ICAEWs, which is fantastic. We normally see kind of 80% plus pass rates across our student population, and our apprentices especially do really well. We've seen a great increase in our pass rates over the last 6 months, so that's a testament to our most recent intakes and those behind them as well. So you really do have good support to be really, really successful if you choose to go down this route. Short and sweet. So I'm going to hand over to
Yes, I think so thank you so much, Vicky. We're now going to have the opportunity for you to hear directly from the apprentices. So this is where you might want to start asking some questions. So we're going to hand over to Freddie first of all. So Freddie, over to you.
Thanks, Zoe, and thanks for everyone for joining as well. So I just wanted to start with why I chose an apprenticeship. So I'm not here to persuade everyone not to apply to university. I'm not saying that there's a route that fits everyone, but I am here to say that there's a real alternative which does provide, a good career path and a good start to your adulthood and your working life. So when I was in school, and that was only last year in A levels, like most of you here today will be, and in high school as well, I think the common theme worldwide, it's often pushed that the right path is going to university. That's the way you're going to get a good job. That's a myth. I mean, even looking at the Oxford Dictionary definition of an apprenticeship, it says that you're paid low wages in a trade. So a trade, it often refers to the more blue collar jobs like plumbing or bricklaying. That's not true. Apprenticeships are now available in all different types of industries, even the more professional ones like accountancy and like healthcare, law, etc., etc. And low wages, well, as you can see from the previous slides where they touched on the salary, for someone just leaving school, it really isn't a low wage. So firstly, the reason I chose an apprenticeship was I wanted a career, not just a degree. So this way we get the working experience, the 5 years working experience while studying towards a level 7 qualification. As we said earlier, the equivalent to a master's degree. So not only do you get that degree level qualification, but you also get the work experience, and you've got a good start and a head start compared to graduates and people who go down the university route into your career. So specifically for accountancy, as most of you joining today, you're interested in finance. Going down the university route, you're looking at a 3 to 4 year graduate degree route, and then moving on, you'll go into a work, which obviously that's competitive to get a job once you've left university. And I'm not saying apprenticeships aren't competitive. We know they're very competitive, but it gives you that extra chance. So you're looking at 3 to 4 years at uni, and then usually you'll join a firm as a graduate, and they'll have you on a 3-year course like we do here. So you're looking at a 7-year course in total, whereas joining as an apprentice straight after A levels, you're looking at a 4.5 to a 5-year course until you're qualified. So again, you're further ahead than most graduates. You've got more practical work experience, and well, yeah, you're just excelling in your career faster than most. Secondly, for me, I don't know about everyone else here, obviously, and everyone's different, but the studying in a classroom, I struggled with that full time. I don't like that, and I do learn a lot better with practical experience and learning on the job. So as we said, obviously on the apprenticeship, the exams are very much staggered compared to the ones the graduates do. Theirs are a bit more crammed into a shorter space of time. So it gives the apprentices real time to spend with managers, to spend with leads of audits, and get that practical work experience, while also, learning the exams. So the way we do exams, we do them in blocks where you might be at college for just 1 week, and then you might have a few weeks revision while you're working at the same time, and then you sit the exam. You're not going to be at college once a week like most other apprenticeships, and you're not going to be in college full time, because I would not have chose this route if we were. Thirdly, I think, as we saw the headline earlier about student loans, and as I'm sure if anyone watches the news here, you can see the interest rates and the threshold when you're going to start paying back student loans. They've increased and the threshold's reduced, so that means you're going to start paying back that student debt almost straight away as soon as you get a job coming out of university. And for me, I don't really fancy £30,000 in debt when I've finished my university degree. This way, you come out with no debt with the same level qualification. So in my head, it seemed like a no-brainer while I was at A levels, but each to their own. Fourthly, real experience is a huge advantage. So more and more common employers are looking for work experience. You'll see on job adverts out there, you know, things like Indeed. They're not looking for entry level positions. They're looking for people who already have a couple years experience, who already have the knowledge in that field. So they're not coming in completely blind. They're not having to spend, like, the employer isn't having to spend time training you to do that position. You can come in and start immediately. At a place like here at the National Audit Office, we're known to be a training organisation. So, you know, you finish that apprenticeship, even if you didn't want to stay in the public sector, even if you didn't want to stay working at the National Audit Office and you wanted different experience, you're not going in as an entry level job. You've got that experience and from quite a prestigious organisation, to say the least. Most, you know, the big four, they will look at the National Audit Office, and it's a respectable place to work. You know, it shows real results. Speaking of results, I know it wasn't in the slideshow earlier, but when we do our recruitment ones at schools, when I come out to talk to people, the figure that I like to say, you know, to show that the work that we do, it really is valuable. Last year, it was a 2025 figure. For every £1 the National Audit Office spent, they saved the government £53. So, you know, it shows every pound spent at the National Audit Office, it does show some real world impact, and, well, it's helping our country. Um, where was I going to go next? My fifth point, sorry, it was going to be it suits everyone who wants independence early. So, you know, while you're at school, you're following rules, you're getting told what to do by teachers, you don't have a lot of freedom. Most of you are probably still living at home this way. I mean, I know Samaya will go on to talk about this a bit later on, but she moved away from home, so she's took that extra step to independence. I'm still living at home, but you're in the working world. You're not in education. You're not just a child anymore. You know, you're talking to people. You're talking to actual adults, to real professionals who've been in that industry for decades, maybe some of them, not all of them, but so it gives you that independence early on, and it gives you a lot more freedom in life. And as we are also offer the flexible hours, so don't come in thinking, oh, I can't face a 9 to 5 constantly. That's not how it is, you know. I mean, I am based up in Newcastle. Currently, I'm doing this webinar from a hotel in London as I was traveling down to London for some work. So you get opportunities to travel, do different experiences, but you also get the flexible hours, which, you know, it might get to a Friday and you want to lie in till 10, that's fine. You can come in later and make up the hours. So I'm not here to make university and apprenticeships a war. I'm just here to kind of explain to you all that apprenticeships, it's not the traditional view that everyone used to have. Apprenticeships have come on a long way, even in the past few years. And I think it's, you know, a responsibility for schools and parents to try get that greater understanding that you're not limited when choosing an apprenticeship. In fact, your opportunities are just as equal with university, and if not, the route going into apprenticeship, you're looking at a much faster route to get the exact same outcome than if you went to university. So my advice to all of you here today, it's not to not send your applications off to uni. You know, you always want that plan B. You never know how it's going to be when you open that envelope on results day, but please just consider both apprenticeships and going down the traditional university route. You know, it's going to open a lot more opportunities, and just don't limit your horizon for life. You know, apply to everything that's out there, anything that catches your eye, and don't just think apprenticeships, they're not as good as university, they're not as respected as well. So I think that's all I wanted to share. You know, they were the main reasons that I chose the apprenticeship. So I think we're going to pass over to Samaya.
Yeah, we will. Thank you so much for that, Freddie. And
Thank
yeah, we're
you.
now going to pass over to Samaya. So over to you. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Sorry. My name is Maya, and I just wanted to share my experience moving from the south, and also my first site visit. I just wanted to talk a bit about my journey. I know for a lot of sixth formers, moving sounds very intimidating, and it is a very nerve-wracking experience. But if I did it, I'm sure anyone can. I originally used to live in Aylesbury, and if anyone knows where Aylesbury is, it's like a little village near Milton Keynes, and it's down south. And I don't think I ever moved out of that area. I schooled somewhere in Buckingham, and that was my whole world. But upon getting this apprenticeship, I had to move up north and into a big city. Newcastle was a whole different experience for me, and I had never lived alone, at least for that long. But it was something that pushed me out of my comfort zone and allowed me to become more social. I also wanted to say that the change that I experienced when I moved into a big city was not linear. I did have some days where I felt really sad and really lonely, but the good thing about the NAO is that there is a dedicated support network that you can talk to. When I was moving into Newcastle, there was an apprentice in an older cohort who had gone through the same experience and was able to give me practical advice. So she was able to advise me on places I could look at to move. She gave me websites to also check out, and it just made the whole process a little bit easier and a little bit less scary than what you would think it would be. So my advice to anyone who's afraid of maybe leaving home or leaving their bubble is that growth cannot happen if you do not push yourself and if you do not step out of that comfort zone. So do not be afraid to I don't know, just try new things and experience a new place and a new environment. You'd be surprised of, I don't know, your growth and the people you'd meet. And I think you'd also really like the way you'd improve over time. I also wanted to talk about my first site visit, which happened last month. And it was at an organization, the DWP office in Blackpool. This was my first site visit ever, and it was the most interesting experience to say the least. If you do a quick Google search, something happened where I think a piece of a Blackpool building fell down, and when that happened, we all had to be evacuated from the building. So imagine this, we had planned a bunch of meetings 1 hour in 1 hour blocks, and our schedule was packed. Because of the piece of scaffolding that fell, everyone had to be evacuated and all our meetings were canceled. However, that experience was taught me something more than, oh, like really strong winds can do a lot of damage to a building. I saw my lead be calm. I saw him lead with confidence, and it was such an amazing experience to see him gather all of us, liaise with the people that we were meant to be talking to, liaise with his leads, and try to reschedule those meetings that we had. This is because we were only there for about 2 to 3 days, and we needed to get those meetings done. I'm not trying to say that it was perfect. We weren't able to actually do all the meetings that we had to do, but we were able to reschedule them in 30-minute blocks. And I think we did do a lot of, we didn't have to cancel all the meetings that we had to do. So, it was a really nice experience just seeing him kind of work under that pressure and still be able to meet those deadlines and meet those expectations of him. So yeah, it was a really, really good experience. I think something that I would leave with everyone is do not be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. And if you need any help, please speak up and please be proactive about it. Like you'd be surprised the help and support that you can get from people around you. Um, yeah, thank you. And I hope you enjoyed that little piece from me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Samara, Freddie, and Vicky. Malika, I think we'll hand back over to you.
Yes, thank you. That was really insightful from everyone. So we've got a couple of questions that have trickled in, but I can imagine as we start talking for this last 10-15 minutes, we will get some more. So the first question I actually want to throw back to Samaya, because you were just mentioning about this site visit that you went and you were a part of. Is this a big part of your job? What is a site visit? If you don't mind just breaking down what it is, that would be really helpful.
So I think a site visit is basically when you go to the site of a client to maybe test out a few stuff or talk with them face to face. So I think there are different purposes where in which a site visit is necessary, but it does happen quite often. Like, it's not something that happens really rarely. The site visit that I went to was to the DWP office in Blackpool,
Mhm.
and that was my first site visit ever. And I've only been at the NAO for it'll be 6 months, I think, this February. So it happens quite often, and it's a really interesting experience, and you get to meet clients really early on, engage with them, and it makes you feel more professional and like you're actually having a real world impact. So that is what a site visit is. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I saw Freddie, you nodding along there. So obviously, for a lot of young people coming into the working world, having to speak to clients and have your own clients can sound really daunting at first. Freddie, if I just kick this off with you and then we can move on to Samaya. How does the process work of induction for an apprentice? What does that first week look like? And then in terms of your learning, at what point do you start taking on that real responsibility?
So when you first join, the first week, obviously you've got to do the introduction. So the first week, everyone will go down to the London office, and that's where, you'll spend time meeting your team. You'll spend time meeting, different contacts you may need, whether that's HR, whether that's the professional training team, and you'll get a better understanding of what the National Audit Office actually does, the day-to-day work people may do at a higher level. So it's a lot of settling in, getting to know the organisation and the people within it in the first week. The second week you move on into your induction, and we call it audit pathways. So it's an internal training week where, they're teaching you some of the things you may need for the first bits of work that you're going to come across. And, it's a lot of it will go in one ear and out the other, if I'm honest, but these courses are reiterated throughout your time, throughout the apprenticeship scheme, so you will have time to come back and learn those materials again. And then pretty much after those 2 weeks, you'll be into work shadowing, you'll be properly introduced to the people you'll be working with on a day-to-day, and from then onwards, you are doing impactful work. You're doing real life work that's it goes into the final audit file. It's not just like trivial work, which means nothing. It's meaningful work.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Smile, do you have anything to add in your first 6 months?
Yeah, I think the first project I was ever put on was VFM, and VFM is basically like value for money. You try to pull out reports that are actually going to help. Parliament takes them into consideration, and it's really impactful work. And that was one of my best moments, I think, within this first few months. That was my favorite project, and I really hope I will be put on VFM sooner. And also for the site visit, I did want to say that it is daunting, but beforehand, you are sent agendas, you are sent briefing notes, there are meetings to be had, and you'll feel really prepared, or at least less scared than you will be just going in. Because yes, meeting clients is very jarring, it can be very scary, but at the same time, it's such a great experience. And I think it does help with your confidence and professionalism as you move along. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question I'm going to throw to Zoe, as we're getting quite a few questions about the actual recruitment process. Any advice on the different stages? Maybe we just go back to, I think it was that slide 15, and then if you don't mind just picking out one bit of advice for each of the stages, I think that would clear up quite a few questions that we're getting.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, let me just skip this back to the stages so you can see where it is. Where were we? Yeah, here we go. So yeah, so when you first register, this is basically just submitting a bit of data into us so we know who you are and what you've done. So this is going to be around your eligibility, so qualifications in terms of your education, right to work, and so on. So when it comes down to the actual stages themselves, the first part is the numerical reasoning test. So you do not need to be a mathematician to do this, okay? This test is looking at how you work with data and how you make decisions using the kind of information that you might come across in the workplace. The great thing with this test is we have practice tests that you can do beforehand, so it'll help you get familiar. We do recommend that you do the practice test, just so you get familiar and so you feel a bit more confident when you go into the actual test itself. So for that would be my do the practice test first. The second stage is the competency questions. This is open-ended. This is where we are looking at you to give examples of situations you've been in. So for example, it could be, can you tell me about a time when you had to work to a deadline and maybe the goalpost changed? What did you do? How did you approach it? What was your approach? So we're looking for you to be quite specific. So we always recommend that you use the STAR model to kind of structure your answer. So situation, task, action, result. And if you format your answer in that way, you'll probably find that you get across exactly the level of detail that you need to get across for that piece. We do get a lot of questions about AI, about that piece as well. So my advice to you would be, if you're going to use AI, use it to help you polish the flow of your answer, not to write the answer for you. The answer needs to come from you and your experiences. And one thing I do want to say is that our entire process is all dealt with by actual humans, not by machines, not by AI. We have actual teams that read your applications. We have actual teams that do your telephone interviews, and the assessment centre, you're actually seen by colleagues within the office. So real people, not machines. The telephone interview, I would say probably think about the same thing. It's quite hard with a telephone interview. You haven't got that face-to-face interaction. You're not going to have those visual cues to kind of go off with someone's eye contact or anything. So do think about your communication. Your listening is going to be so important. But I would say think about what you used in your earlier stage with a competency, so you can have those as a bit of a reference, which might help you then think about the examples as you approach your telephone interview. My piece of advice I give everyone when I do an interview, telephone interview, is I say, do your telephone interview standing up. It's surprising, it makes you feel more confident. And smile when you're having your interview. You'd be surprised at how that smile gets translated down the phone to your interviewer. Yeah, I think that'll be my sort of like little bits there about the recruitment process.
Thank you. And just because I've got you as well, just to double check that BTECs are also, or any equivalent grades are also accepted when you apply.
Yes, they are. Yeah, I would really recommend that you use the UCAS website. So if you go to UCAS, they've got a calculator on there, and it lists pretty much every single possible BTEC, A-level, T-levels that you could possibly imagine, and it will actually tell you what your grade equates to in terms of UCAS. So it will basically do the hard work for you, and it will tell you exactly what you have, or what you're predicted to get if you're currently doing your A-levels or equivalent.
Thank you. And then the next question I've got is for Vicky and about the exam. This is a question I've seen a couple of times now. What happens if you fail one of your exams?
Well, you're not going to fail, you're going to pass first time, so it's going to be fantastic. but if you happen to fail, do not worry. So similar to most organisations, we have a resit policy. So typically students get a second attempt, and we provide guidance. So I made reference to our coaching faculty. We'll always signpost our coaching faculty to an individual who needs to resit, so they have time just to talk through what might have gone wrong and some practice hints and tips before doing a resit. And again, we give time to do that resit as well. So there's support given. It's not kind of one and done. There's definitely an opportunity to resit an exam. So yes, there's no need to worry about that at all.
Thank you. So the next question I've got is to both Freddie and Samaya. Samaya, I'll probably start with you if that's all right. Outside of the technical skills needed, what other soft skills do you think that all apprentices have at the National Audit Office, or you think a student might have or need to have a career at the National Audit Office?
Being curious, I think that's the first thing that comes to mind. Especially as a school leaver, there's a high chance that you won't know most things that you're expected to do, but you have an idea. So if someone asks you to do a task, most times they will never ask you to do a task without showing you. But if that ever slips someone's mind, please be curious, ask questions. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this. Can you show me? People at the NAO are way nice, like way too nice. So trust me, someone will be able to take you through those steps, and they really do like an inquiring mind. So just be curious, don't be afraid to ask questions, and just be yourself, be honest. You'd be surprised, honestly. So that's what I would say would be like a very good soft skill to have. Do not be afraid to speak up and be curious.
Thank you. And Freddie, anything to add to that?
I would say like there's no specific soft skill you must have, because the fact is there'll be a role which we can, everyone's skills can be utilized in a different area. But for me, I think resilience and communication, resilience, there will be things that you come across in whether it's at college or at work which are difficult. Carry on, don't just give up, don't just, surrender to it. And communication, because to get over those hard things which you need the resilience for, you're going to have to ask out, you're going to have to reach out and talk to different people. And like we mentioned earlier, you will go to client sites at some points. There's going to be a lot of talking and communication involved in your job.
Thank you. So we've probably got time for 2 more questions. So one question that I've got that we actually get from quite a few of these webinars that we do here at Success at School is that students don't have work experience, or the work experience that they do have isn't in the same industry that they would like to go into. Freddie and Samaya, did you both have work experience? Was the work experience you had in a completely separate industry? Or were there any tips that you can give to students that maybe don't have work experience or don't really know how to translate their skills? Freddie, you were shaking your head, so I'm going to have to go to you first with that one.
For me, if I'm honest, when I started doing my A levels, I wanted to go into medicine and go be a doctor. I was studying for those exams, and then I got halfway through. I was like, nah, this isn't the right industry for me. So before the NAO, I had 4 years work experience as a chef, a year as a waiter, and then I did a week in a medical lab. But none of it's accountancy or audit or finance related. So get that application in.
Thanks. And Samaya, what about your work experience journey, if you've had any?
So I worked in my mom's restaurant for like my whole life, and then I had like 2 years working in a nonprofit, and then I had a little stint in an IT company, which was absolutely horrible. I was never going back. So yeah, as Freddie said, get that application in. And there are so many soft skills that I gained from all those experiences that you wouldn't really know, but can be translated into audit. So don't be afraid, just do it.
Thank you. That
sorry,
was really...
I have to follow on from Freddie and Samaya as well. Completely agree. I was forced by my parents to get a Saturday job when I was 15. It's like, you're too old to get pocket money, you have to get yourself a Saturday job. And I started working in a fish and chip shop. And I stayed there throughout school, throughout college. It was the best job I ever had. It really developed my communication skills. I never said boo to a goose. I was the quietest person in school. No one ever even knew I existed because I just never spoke. But it really helped me. And exactly as I said, the soft skills that you gain from working a Saturday job in a cafe, a supermarket, a clothing store, a restaurant, anything, all of that is completely transferable. So don't feel that you have to go and get an internship. You've got to go and do a placement. Not the case at all. Many people that join us have never had any kind of professional work experience like that. They've come from a lot of these Saturday and weekend jobs.
Thank you. So we've got the last minute. So I always like to end on one bit of advice perhaps you would give to anyone on this call, or maybe your younger self, or perhaps if you can't think of anything that you would say, what is one of the best parts about working at the NAO? Just to give people an insight into the day in the life and what that looks like. So Zoe, best part of your job, or any bit of advice you have to anyone on this call today?
Oh, I have two. Best part of my job is actually seeing people that I've met at career fairs joining us and going through their journey and coming out the other end qualified. Because I think I've been here now long enough that I've had 3 intakes of graduates now become senior auditors. I think I've had 2 intakes of apprentices now become senior auditors. So it's so nice to see that journey. But the best bit of advice I ever got, so from my parents, it was do what makes you happy. I had no desire whatsoever to go to university. It was never, ever an option for me. And it was the one thing that was constantly pummeled into me when I was at school. The only way you're going to get a good job is if you go to uni. And I just did not have that at all. My parents were very happy. You go do whatever you want to do. And I basically went straight into work and just worked my way from the bottom and sort of worked my way up. And yeah, I've got to say, it was the right route for me.
Oh, thank you. Vicky, best part of your job, one bit of advice.
Oh goodness. So I haven't been at the NAO for long, literally hit a year the other day. I've worked at the Big Four for 10 years and medium firms for 6 years. So seen kind of all sides of the coin, if you like. So the best part of my job here is the work-life balance, definitely, and a real sense of community from apprentices, graduates, and the rest of the organisation. So that's kind of the best thing about my job. Yeah, and just a general advice, I think, as Zoe said, it's probably doing what your heart feels is right. So I think take all opportunities. You know, if a door opens, poke your head through. You never know what kind of is behind that door, and that journey will just fall into place for you. So that's my advice.
Thank you. Moving on to Freddie.
I think my favourite part of the job is just meeting different people and talking. I mean, if you didn't stop me, I could talk all day. And the piece of advice I would give a younger version of myself was don't just choose a safe path just because everyone else is doing it. So, for example, university, you know, do your research, trust your instincts, and pick the option that gives you the skills, you know, the experience and the momentum you want going forward in life.
Thank you. And to close things off, Samaya, no pressure.
I think the best part about working at the NAO is actually just being with my colleagues. And I think I'm going to follow up from what Freddie said, meeting so many people. It's always a blast being at the office. It makes me smile every single day. It's amazing. And I think a piece of advice I would give my younger self is don't be afraid to disappoint people. Even if someone thinks you should go into like a particular profession and then you're like, no, like don't be afraid. It's your life at the end of the day. So yeah, do what's
Thank
best for
you.
you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you to the panelists. It was lovely to have you on this webinar, and hopefully all of you students, parents, careers leaders are feeling a bit more informed about the National Audit Office and the qualifications on offer. As the panelists have said today, there is no right route. There is only the right route for you. And if you would like any further information, just head over to the Success at School website, where you will be able to see the National Audit Office profile and the jobs that they have live. Tomorrow morning, you will also get an email with the webinar recording that will have the presentation on it, and you will get the link to your certificate. So don't forget to tag all of us in that, and we will reshare it. And it's a great way if, for example, you don't have work experience, to show your commitment into a future career. But thank you once again. Hopefully we're seeing a couple more of you in the webinars for the rest of the week. We'll pop that in the email tomorrow. But thank you so much and have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much, everyone.